Hello upgraders and welcome to another episode of the Upgraded Ape Show. On today's show we have Stew Friedman, who is a professor at the Wharton School of Business at UPenn. He's the founding director of the Wharton Leadership Program, and we talk about how you can grow as a leader and grow in other parts of your life so overall you can kick more ass. Stu tells us why it's important to be clear on your goals and visions in life. And this is something that I can get behind 100%. It makes such a massive difference. No matter how many nootropics or what coffee or what else you're doing, unless you've got a goal and a vision to give you passion and motivation to get stuff done, it's not going to happen and you're not going to have the best results. So very quickly, we're up to episode 11, and they're all available on iTunes, and all the shows are also available to stream at radio.upgradedape.com. If you're listening on iTunes, I'd absolutely massively love it and appreciate it if you could leave a quick review. Basically, iTunes' rating system helps them choose podcasts and radio shows that they want to promote. So if you do enjoy the show, it would be giving us some free promotion, essentially, if you could leave a very quick comment and a 5-star review. That said, without further ado, let's get on with the show.
Welcome to the Upgraded Ape Show, your daily dose of brain upgrades to help you kick life's ass. And here's your host, Will Barron.
Hi Stu, and welcome to the Upgraded Ape podcast.
Great to be here, Will. Thanks for having me.
So Stu, I'm a fan of your books. Can you give us a little bit of an intro of what your books are about?
Well, my most recent book is called Leading the Life You Want, Skills for Integrating Work and Life. And it takes my earlier work, which is called Total Leadership, Be a Better Leader, Have a Richer Life, and goes a little further with it. So in Total Leadership, which came out a few years ago and was a national bestseller and is a bunch of different languages now, what I did in that book was to describe and illustrate my course, which I've been teaching at Wharton since I created it when I was head of leadership development at Ford Motor Company about 15 years ago. Took a few years and left Wharton, was the senior executive responsible for leadership at Ford, and one of the things we created there was this program called Total Leadership, which was about how to grow as a leader and have an impact in all the different parts of your life by integrating them better. And so the principles we described in that book, which, again, is the result of years of trial and error and refinement of this course, which launched originally about 15 years ago at Ford, and then when I came back, was refining it after teaching it at Wharton in our MBA programs for our undergrads and our executive MBAs, and then in companies around the world. The three principles that I described there and the kind of step-by-step walk through this 3 or 4 month course were to be real, to be whole, to be innovative. Because this is what we found when we did research back in the 90s on people who were very successful at integrating the different parts of their lives. What do they do? How do they do it? Well, they are clear about what matters most to them, their vision, their values. That's what we mean by being real, acting with authenticity, knowing what you care about. They're also respectful of the different domains of their lives, their work, as well as their home life or family life, however they define it, their community life, which could mean neighbors, friends, social groups, religious groups, anything really beyond your work and family. And then the fourth domain, and that is the private self, the mind, body, and spirit. So they're respectful of those different domains and recognize that there are different people in those different domains that have different needs and interests and expectations for their performance. So it's recognizing those, respecting those. And then the third principle is to be innovative, to be continually experimenting, acting with creativity in how you get things done. So our research team went out and found 9 different kinds of experiments that people do when you ask them, do something that's under your control now that's going to have a positive impact on your work and your home and your community and yourself. The 4-way win. That's the kind of the big idea. And when you ask people to do that, they come up with all different kinds of things. Our research team looked at about 800 or 900 of these experiments, and we classified them into 9 different types. And so in the course, we have people do a set of exercises that have to do with clarifying what matters most to you, your values and your vision, understanding who the most important people are in the different phases of your life and what they expect of you and you expect of them, and then you have dialogues with them to clarify those expectations.
Just stopping on that for a second, Stu, do you find that, so that's something I've worked on in the past couple of years, specifically, and when I speak to, there tend to be two people, there tends to be people that have done this kind of, I don't want to use the word self-help, but this kind of investigation into these processes and people who haven't. Is this something that splits higher performers with people who perhaps potentially are on the lower rungs of the career ladder, or is that irrelevant?
You mean how old you are, or where you are in your life?
No. Not so much how old you are, but is this a trait that executives have, that they instinctively do this?
Well, these are all, they break down ultimately to skills, and that's what the new book is about. So it's be real, be whole, identify the stakeholders, talk to them, prepare for and undertake dialogues, and then come out of all of that diagnostic work and do these experiments, create a laboratory really of your life, and then reflect on what works and what doesn't, so that you derive new insight about how to create sustainable change in your life. Sustainable because it works for you as well as the other key people in your world. So in the new book, which is called Leading the Life You Want, to address your question, what I've really focused on are the skills that bring these principles to life. And I've illustrated them in the lives and careers of 6 exemplary human beings. So I've written New Yorker-style profiles of these 6 people, and then analyzed their lives and careers from the point of view of the skills that they have naturally cultivated, and then show in the second half of the book how readers can exercise those, there are a certain set of exercises or practices to develop each one of those skills. And so it's very practical in that sense. And again, to answer your question, what I have found is that growing the capacity to lead is something that requires some investment. If you think about the other performing arts or sports, what an athlete does, what a great dancer does, what a great musician does, they spend a lot of time practicing their skills. And that's something that we know helps for leadership, which is a performing art as well. And so breaking down these principles into skills and skills that you can exercise and develop is what I'm offering in this newest work, which comes out next month.
Awesome. So are these skills cross-compatible with both work and your personal life then? So you're hitting both of them with one chunk of work on your behalf, on yourself?
Well, right. So these 3 principles are what I realized a long time ago were essential for not only cultivating your skill and your capacity as a leader, your authenticity, integrity, and creativity, but also they were the same principles and skills that one needs to integrate the different parts of life. So all this work is about how you can enhance your capacity as a leader in the different parts of your life, and that's the key to better harmony or integration among the different parts.
Okay, cool. So people, and me included in the past, so obviously I'm upgraded 8 full-time now. In the past I've worked in medical device sales, and I never had a split between personal time and work time. It was always, generally it was always work, and my personal time blurred into that with email and everything else that goes along.
That's quite common these days, isn't it?
Do you believe that there should be a split, even if you are a leader and you're taking control of things, or is what you're suggesting a way to manage the two together?
Well, I think of 4 domains, right? Of work, your home or family, community or society, and then your private self. And what we've seen and what we've learned to teach and help people to cultivate for themselves are a set of skills that enable you to be successful in all the different parts of your life. And so for some people that means more merging together of the different parts, doing things with people in your family or your friendship network that affect your work or that are directly a part of your work, for example. But for many people, It involves segmenting or separating the different parts in more meaningful ways. So, dividing time and space consciously, deliberately, so that you're focusing on the people and the projects that need your undivided attention. So there's no one best way, I've discovered. The important thing here is for you as an individual to explore, what do you really care about? And we have some tools that help to clarify that. Simple, not very complicated, although it can get pretty deep, because you've got to think carefully about, well, what do I stand for? What's my purpose? Big questions.
Well, Stu, let's dive into that.
Sure.
How does one find what their meaning is and what their purpose? Because obviously that then gives you motivation and drives you, and you can do all sorts of great things. But a lot of people go through life not having any direction and just plodding along.
Well, this is a great question that has been on the minds of philosophers since the dawn of time. We're just asking it in a modern context. And you're right. It does take some openness and inquiry and courage to ask these questions. Many people do not, I have found, and it helps them to see that there are ways of exploring these questions and talking about them with peers that can help you to make more intelligent, let's say mindful choices about where you focus and invest your attention, which is your most precious asset as a leader, I would say as a person. Where are you going to put your attention? To whom? On what? Projects or initiatives. So yeah, it's a lot of it is, it kind of starts with raising consciousness about what matters most. It sort of starts and ends there. And then it's a matter of looking at your social environment. Who are the people that matter most to you? Which is not always obvious. I've discovered that when you ask people to identify who are the most important people in your life, at work, and at home, and in the community, it can raise some surprising questions or answers to those questions. So there again, you're contemplating the things that are important, the people that are important, and then the fun part is to be creative in experimenting in small ways with actions that you can take that are within your control that enable you to make things better for them and for you. And what I've discovered, working now with literally tens of thousands of people in countries all around the world, is that people have a lot more discretion and power than they think they have. And by going through these kinds of simple diagnostics, and then taking real action, they discover that they have more control. And that's a big part of the remedy that we need in today's world of feeling overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm. Well, without going too much into the negative side of it, why do you think people are in this state in the first place and aren't mindful? And then we can look into perhaps how you can, some tactics to get out of that state.
There's a lot of reasons for it, for this sense of feeling overwhelmed. Partly it's the dawn of the digital age, and we are just learning how to use the tools that are, like with any technological revolution, it takes a while to develop the psychological and social norms and tools for harnessing the power of these incredible instruments we have. And so I think we're just kind of learning how to really contain their power. So that's a part of it. Most people are not, do not grow up in the digital world and are learning how to use these tools to keep them from drowning in the deluge of data that swarms, and just drowns people. So I think that's a part of it. And that's a huge part of it. The world is smaller as a result. We're more interconnected. We have it's harder to create meaningful boundaries between work and other parts of life, because now there are none if you don't create them yourself, right? And so you have to create them yourself. That's a choice. It's a set of choices. It's a lot of choices. And if you're not thinking about it, you're just going to be reactive, and it's going to beat you. So it takes some effort and coaching, especially powerful as peer-to-peer, to see opportunities to gain a greater sense of control, to create boundaries that are meaningful, and to be able to make more intelligent choices about where to focus your attention.
Cool. So we touched on a point there of increasing boundaries if they're needed between your social, your work, and community work, I guess, that you're doing. Are there any other simple, actionable tips like that you can tell us?
Well, one thing I find many people see as really useful when they do just a quick analysis of what matters most to them and where they focusing their attention, and where are the gaps there between what matters and where you focus your attention, and how satisfied are you with how things are going in each of the different domains, and how well you're performing in each domain. When you do that four-way view, many people discover that they're just not taking care of themselves, which I think gets to the heart of what your work is about. And if you're not taking care of yourself, people come to realize in a fresh light, then you can't be as effective as you want to be in your work or career. You can't be as available and just present for your family and friends. And you deny yourself the opportunity for development of your spirit and your body and your mind. And so many people realize that by taking care of myself a little bit more carefully, I can be more useful to the world. And so that's so a lot of the experiments that people do have to do with nutrition and exercise or diet, or just taking time to just rest. And it has had these simple actions of taking care of yourself can have a profound impact on the other parts of your life. Another very common kind of experiment that people do, and these exercises are then described in very accessible detail in the new book, is to focus your attention. I was talking earlier about small experiments in choosing to bound time and attention for a particular person or a particular project. And doing that can also have great effects, especially when you have grown accustomed to not having those boundaries and so-called multitasking. You've got a lot of things going on at once, which we now know degrades relationships and performance. So people do small experiments, like you might, for example, try one meeting a day where you do nothing but look into the eyes, the windows of the soul of the person you're speaking to. That's it. Just try that, for one conversation tomorrow, and then see what happens. Reflect on what happens. So there's small experiments like that again, when you kind of step back as a scientist in the laboratory of your life, you can discover a lot.
Do you recommend more formal meditation practice to bring forth that kind of in the moment mindfulness?
Many people report great success with that. I don't do that personally. I do other things, but what I like to encourage people to do is what they want to do. So a lot of what the work that I coach people in is discovering what matters to them, and then helping them to really tune into the things that they're passionate about, the things that give them a sense of presence or flow, and pursue those, because there's no one best way. But yeah, meditation, yoga, it's incredibly powerful, and now sweeping my nation as a way to enhance mindful attention to the things that matter.
Sure. I'm intrigued as well, Stu. How many people go through your courses and your books, and they end up quitting their jobs and realizing that the job that they were trying to change to be more motivated and productive for wasn't the right job for them in the first place?
That's a great question, Will. It happens not infrequently. I mean, it does happen. More often, it's making smaller adjustments. But people have changed relationships and jobs, or thought differently about where their future is, and they make small adjustments that help them get there. If you think about like a big ship, to turn a big ship into a new direction takes just a little bit of tweak on the rudder, and you end up incontinent. So you don't have to make massive changes to affect a big change over the long term, and that's usually a smarter way to go. Smaller, lower risk steps that enable you to learn by rapidly adjusting. But the key is to be gathering data, which is a big part of what the life hacking, upgraded self movement is all about, right? It's gathering information that tells you the consequences of the experiments that you're trying, which just makes you smarter about what's working and what doesn't for you.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about your work, and it's that data gathering, and almost in a quantified self kind of manner, that gives you the feedback, which it almost then creates a loop to encourage you to do it even more and progress further down the road.
Yeah, I mean, another one of the kinds of experiments that's very common is simply to track and reflect on something that you haven't been tracking before. And as you say, just doing a log or a daily diary, just 5 minutes, it can have a profound impact on just what you realize is important and where you're investing your attention. So
cool. Well,
data is a big piece of this.
For sure. Well, it gives you something actionable to make a change. Otherwise, it's kind of like finger in the air, and ahhing, isn't it? And that'll get you so far, but it's not gonna give continued improvement for sure.
Right. You need information about the consequences of your actions to know what's working and what's not. Some people call that learning.
Well, Stu, let's do some quickfire questions, if that's cool with you.
Quickfire, let's go.
Let's do this. What part of the day are you most productive?
Oh, that's easy. First thing in the morning.
Do you know what? No guest I've had on the show has said evening yet, which is quite surprising. I thought there'd be someone, because I'm the same, Stu. Get up at 5 and get 3 or 4 hours of work just done, head down, and then start to drag after that.
Exactly. No, I think most people are wired that way. Some people say that 4 is the best hour.
Stu, what do you eat for breakfast?
Okay, so what do I eat for breakfast? I like to have some kind of grain and berries and, almond milk / juice, whatever you want to call that. Cup of coffee, a small bowl of yogurt with some homemade jam. I'm on my way.
Nice, that's lovely. What's one thing that you're grateful for today?
My family. My 3 beautiful children and the wonderful woman who produced them with me. Yeah, that's it. That's what's core for me. Just thinking about them as I was driving over here. And I actually started to get misty in my eyes as I was driving past their old school and remembering them when they were young. They're all in their 20s now. And just thinking about their youth and how joyous that time was and how they've grown as human beings. It's really quite a remarkable thing.
That's awesome. Talking about gratitude, do you have any formal process to remind yourself to be grateful every day, or do you write things down, or?
Wow. No, I don't. I try to find a time each day to be expressing thanks to somebody. So it's not like I have a list of people I need to get to, but and this is it's not natural for me. I am, I think, essentially a pretty selfish person, and so it doesn't come naturally to me to be conscious of the need to be grateful for what I have and express my appreciation to the people around me. So I try really hard to do that. As often as possible during the day. And of course, we all know that you have to do that to be generating support and relationships around you and to be happy. I mean, most people find that it feels good to be giving credit to other people and expressing appreciation. But as I say, it doesn't come naturally to me. So I probably could be more disciplined about it. Well, you've given me an idea there.
It's only very simple what I do, but every morning I've just got a little notepad and I just write down 4 things that I'm grateful for every morning. It's I usually get 2 that are friends, family, having a roof over my head. And by the 3rd one, it's kind of something random. And the 4th is usually, well, that I've got hot water, or the 4th one usually pushes me to think of things that, for example, a guest I had on the show earlier on today, asked him the same question, and he said he was grateful that he lives in America and that there's no real imminent threat of his house being bombed or anything like that, which is going on throughout the world, and it's something that you can, not appreciate when other people are struggling.
I think about that a lot, about how fortunate I have been to avoid, violent strife. Many members of my, family, my parents perished in the Holocaust. So I'm very. My grandparents who did survive. Their story, I knew them for a long time, and then during the Vietnam era, which is my generation, it's a long story. You probably don't want to hear all the details of it, but I managed to not have to fight, and obviously I escaped death, but I knew people who didn't, and I'd read the newspaper every day, or take information online about how the terrors and the horrors of living in so many parts of the world right now. And so I'm increasingly conscious of how lucky I have been and how lucky my children are, and they know it. I think they know it. So fundamentally, I actually find myself thinking this more and more as I get older. I'm 62. I think, well, I'm breathing today. That's a good thing. I'm grateful for that, and just to see the beautiful trees in the sky, and just to be alive.
Awesome. That took a twist that I wasn't expecting to go down. But
me too.
The other question I've got, which was a quickfire question, but I think we're beyond that now. What can you recommend a book for Upgraded Ape listeners, other than your own, obviously, and we'll link to them and do all that.
Yeah.
But are there any books that you have read that have really made a massive impact on your life and changed perhaps a direction that you were taking?
Well, the book that comes to mind, which I actually refer to, as does one of the people who I profile in the book, refers to as an important source of a kind of way to think about opportunities to heal by being of service to other people, and is a book by the name of, in English, the translation is Man's Search for Meaning. It was written by Viktor Frankl, who was an Austrian psychiatrist, or German or Austrian psychiatrist, who survived the Holocaust. And he wrote about his experiences there. And essentially what he found was that the people who were able to find the strength and courage to survive, pretty horrific circumstances, were those who were not focused on their own pain and loss and sense of tragedy, but rather were aiming all the time to try to help other people. And that became the basis for his philosophy and also his practice, which he called the psychology of meaning. And so I think his work is really seminal in a lot of modern thinking, post-existential psychology, which is all about the search for meaning and how meaning is really just being significant in some way to the lives of other people, having some kind of positive impact on the world. And that's what I found in Leading the Life You Want. When I profiled these 6 remarkable people, the essence of what they had in common was that they had taken what they were born with and the circumstances of their lives, and none of them were born to great wealth, but they took what they had. They had the courage to pursue what they really cared about and figured out how to get other people to support them, because they were taking what they had as their passions, their interests, their skills, and use them for the betterment of other people. It's a simple idea, but it really struck me like a ton of bricks. I mean, it's so obvious, and many of the world's religions preach this, of course. The idea's been around forever, but that to me is kind of the central theme of both Frankl's work and what I try to do with my own work.
Do you think people are naturally giving, or do you think that's kind of a higher self that you have to work on to force your way to do
Well,
it?
I think that's what most of the world's religions are there to do, is to make us really remember that, that's what's going to create meaning out of your life, is if you think about, not yourself. Because we're animals, and we live in a jungle. And, we're threatened all the time. And so, we are both gods and we are dogs, so we have to that's the essential tension of living, right? If you're conscious, is how to rise above the primitive self. So yes, very much so.
Oh, good. Well,
every single
Stu, I've got one last question for you.
Okay,
It's a question I've asked everyone who's been on the show so far.
Yeah.
Upgraded Ape listeners are here to upgrade their brains and get more done so they can get more out of life. If you were to go back in time and speak to your younger self,
Oh my God.
what would be the one thing that you'd tell your younger self to help you get either more done and increase your productivity, or to just get more out of life in general?
Be nice about people. It's really so, and it's so obvious to me. Yeah, just be more mindful about what other people need and try to help them.
Awesome. Well, simple, eloquent, great answer.
Thank you. I wish somebody had really gotten that into my skull when I was 25. But I'm trying to figure it out.
Good.
We all.
Well, look, sorry, go on.
I say we all are.
Well, yeah, you're right. The bash in the head is a good thing that no matter, I guess, how enlightened or successful or wherever you are in your life, you can still always improve, can't you?
I believe that, and I've certainly seen a lot of that. So yes, it's not everybody thinks that way. Many people are kind of fatalistic, and or just don't have that what seems to be the quintessentially American sense of individualistic effort to make things better. I was just in Europe speaking about this stuff, and it's a different worldview there. I think the idea, though, that we're here to try to make things better in the world is something that it's at my core, and it's fun to be around other people who think that as well.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, Stu, that learned a lot. It's a great interview. Do you want to give listeners a quick heads up of where they can find out more about you and also your books?
Sure. So totalleadership.org is this where you can learn a lot about our work, my books, research, the work that we do, innovations, teaching, and some interesting stories about things that I've done. So that's a good. My new book, which I'm over, called Leading the Life You Want: Skills for Integrating Work and Life. It's published by Harvard Business Review Press, October 7th, and it includes original stories of people like Michelle Obama, Sheryl Sandberg, Bruce Springsteen, and a few others that I'm wanting to really read about. So I hope you check it out.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Stu. Thanks for coming on the Upgraded Ape Show.
My pleasure.